Il computer?
Boh, penso sia questo il computer. Hi everyone, I'm Thomas and I'm a student at UC Berkeley. I study electrical engineering and computer science.
Hi everyone, I'm Rocco and I'm studying computer science engineering at Milan Polytechnic.
And today we'll be speaking about Daoverse. Let's redefine. So let's talk about Daoverse. So we thought about naming Daoverse the most decentralized metaverse infrastructure that we could think about. And with Let's Redefine, we mean repurpose DeFi networks. Since right now, the DeFi treasuries are overhoarding with money, and we believe that they can have a scope, they can have a goal for common good. And that's why, and we think the best way to actually use those money is through a virtual land and through a virtual world. But right now, the problem of the decentralized virtual world is scarcity and abundance and their static nature. And so we thought about using this Goldberg Polyhedron that has 12 fixed pentagons that would be unique landmarks, but it can be infinitely expandable with equal tiles, with equal hexagon tiles. And we thought about a cool use case for this is to have a treasury, an NFT DAO treasury, using it. And this treasury would be open source and everything would be visible. So we don't have problems with possible regulations or with governments. And with its nature, we thought about using two different models. We thought about using a Posiverse and a Negiverse. And the Posiverse would be the non-profit DAO, and the Negiverse would be the for-profit DAO, where the land in the Negiverse, it's used as a service. So for example, it's going to be like a subscription model. So Netflix, for example, something will happen inside this world, and to enter this world, you will need to own a tile of that world. And on the Posiverse, it's going to be a non-profit model, and that's basically what actually builds the Negiverse and the treasury. So in the Negiverse, the money flows in inside the treasury, and on the Posiverse, the land flows out and is given by the owners of those lands. So for example, there can be a Negiverse that can be a game or something that people will have to pay to get in. And then there can be the Posiverse that it's actually the DAOs of builders that creates the project. And in this way, we can have DAOs as service. So basically them communicating together. So the for-profit metaverse and the developers and the DAOs of builders and creators so that they can directly be retributed. And this would be our Daoverse archetype that we thought of. So yeah, so a Posiverse has a new tile equals a new member of that DAO. And a Negiverse is a new tile equals a new customer. And there are multiple layers of the world that you can unlock. So you can unlock a volume. And when you unlock volume in the Posiverse, you unlock basically a membership tiers that puts you on top. And the membership tier is provided by the users inside the Posiverse. While on the Negiverse, you're basically unlocking, if you buy more space, more layers, more height layers, you're unlocking different service. So for example, Tinder Premium, Tinder Gold, and so on. And with this structure, we can have continuous fundings, since basically there are going to be different people holding the Negiverse, having a terrain inside the Negiverse. There can be people who just care about an open source, decentralized metaverse, or people who just want short-term gains. And all of them inside the layer 0, if you own a layer 0 land, a layer 0 tile inside the Negiverse, you have a voting power, and you can elect a Posiverse. And the Posiverse are 12. The Posiverses are 12, since 12 is the fixed number of pentagons in the Goldberg Polyhedron structure, and an infinite number of hexagons. And the hexagons are the actual users. So for example, the Warden of the North, ecosystem interest, and everybody else. And so you can vote your Posiverse, your basically DAO of developers that you want. And you have the possibility to continuously fund them by unlocking new tiers, new layers. Because when you unlock new layers, you're actually giving money to the treasury, to the Negiverse. And so you're providing fundings to those Posiverse, continuous fundings to those Posiverse. And of course, if we look at the Goldberg Polyhedron structures, we can see that it's expandable. So you can have more tiles, and more tiles equals more DAO members if it's a nonprofit, or more customers if it's a for-profit Daoverse. And in this way, you can even have an NFT fractionalization too. So this is how the world will look like. There are basically those pentagons with points are the Daoverses, are the Polyverses, sorry. And we can see how the layers are actually structured and how it is going to look like. So the self-organized world, there will be different height for different volumes, and you can have buildings made by users that can be public, that can be private, and there will be roads connecting those buildings and connecting pentagons and stuff inside the world that you want to create. And then there will be, of course, roofs and parks that will be useful in the survival mode. And then you can have neighborhoods that are basically, really basic form of DAOs with agent layer 0 land tiles. So for example, you and your friends have 5 tiles together and you want to have, I don't know, a Japanese theme. You can have that with your own rules and with your own stuff. And here it is, the quick code for what we did. So on the right, there is the code for the Rust code for the creation of the polyhedron. And on the left, the upload of the new polyhedron phases, metadatas, so the meta tags of the coordinates and the other stuff. But we don't really have time to go through it, so you can find more on GitHub at Solarity VR. And how we thought about having basically the maximum decentralization for these Daoverses are to have those hexagons. So these like multiple numbers of tiles vote for these periodically elected pentagons that would be just people. And those periodically elected pentagons have the power to propose an expansion of the world. And if the hexagon accepted, they are the one who are going to sign the new tiles generated. And the hexagon members have the power to grant basically a new layer to other members, so they can have more voting power and they can have like a recognition for their work, because how we thought about it is that those rewarded would be the most active people from the community or people who've shown leadership roles. And those two will vote together if they want to remove someone from the Daoverse. So for example, if one is not active enough and there is enough consensus, he will be eliminated from the DAO, we can say. And this is a quick recap. So basically, we want to have the Solarity Daoverse that can be the benchmark for anybody, since everything is going to be open source. Everybody can create their own thing and can add whatever they want. And whatever you build on top will be added to this basically open unstoppable metaverse growing stack. So everything will be available to everybody to create whatever they want. And since everything is on chain, the governance is on chain, there will be economic parameters and functions that can be studied. So there will be police data, that would be the parameters, incentivized data, that would be the functions, and economical data, that would be the economical transactions that happened on the on-chain governance. They can be studied through a machine learning on policies. And since we don't know much about it, we can have like a lot of testing, a lot of failing, a lot of trying with these things. And it's basically effortless because everything is basically testing on a game. And the next thing, since we want to have the earliest decentralization as possible, we thought about having different rounds for the land tile auction. So the first round is going to be really, really cheap so that everybody can afford it and everybody can have their own say inside the Solarity Daoverse. So everybody can enter, everybody can have their own land. And on the second round, third round, and fourth round, and so on, the price will exponentially increase, so that if you want to speculate and you want to be, for example, a tycoon, you will actually increment the price. So the small fishes who could just afford maybe the first one will have the floor price incremented. And to avoid bots and stuff like that, or people creating 1,000 wallets, we thought about using KYC or proof of humanity. And as soon as the auction ends, you can trade the land, and the unsold tiles will be natural reserve or parks that will be useful on your own case, or in the survival mode, there are going to be some use cases there.
Okay. So we thought about running a simulation, and this is approximated, so it's not going to happen, but it could. As you can see, as the price goes up, is the gray line, less people are involved and less tiles are sold. And in the third graph there, you can see the economic power raised through these land auctions. So in a case one is not many people join the auction, so there's not much sold in the treasury. In the case two, medium people join, and there's a bunch of stuff in the treasury. And in the third case, a lot of people join, and there's more stuff in the treasury. But the cool thing about it is that we're going to have the land NFTs auction, and then we're going to have a governance tokens auctions to govern the money that is being raised. So that way we could achieve early decentralization. Here is how we plan on using land as incentives alignment for DeFi users, because what we feel at this stage is that many DeFi protocols, they just hoard DeFi fees in treasuries, and they are not used to do many stuff. So we thought about using virtual land to coordinate DeFi users to automatically retribute builders and creators to grow a common and free infrastructure. So basically, this virtual world, you could be like a landowner, and instead of trading on some other exchange, you could trade on the DeFi stack of that virtual world, and you could use the fees to fund public goods. So maybe a common infrastructure, metaverse. So we are going to develop a open source VR headset, so stuff like that. And this is a simplified overview of how value created is distributed to value creators. And yeah, basically we're going to have DeFi, NFT trading, sponsor experiences, and survival mode. And as you can see there, there's the miner fund, the builders and creators fund. So everything there is geared towards redistribution of value created to value creators. But the end goal of Solarity is to get enough fees to self-sustain a virtual world where the computation fees are paid by the DeFi fees. And that way you achieve the most decentralized and independent network. So if you pay for your own computation, it should be like the most neutral approach. So neutrality nowadays is something that is kind of sick. Okay. This is a technical overview. So basically, our approach is to have something like Google Stadia, because we need low latencies. And to do that, we're going to have miners and clients, but you couldn't have like a miner in Shanghai and a client in Lisbon, because you need to have low latencies, and nowadays you cannot do that. But anyway, the way it should work is that maybe people that want to buy like gaming hardware or stuff like that, they don't have the money to do that, but they could buy it and lend the power when they're not using the GPUs. So that way they can afford it to play it, and they can lend it when they're not using it. And on the left there, there's a kind of complicated scheme, but it's all about like the payment layer for the miners and the clients, and the payment layers from players to players. And instead of clogging like monolithic chains with useless NFTs, we could use like a DAG, and a DAG is cool because it's feeless. So if people want to play your game, they don't have to pay fees because they made the computation themselves. And it's also infinitely scalable, because the confirmation in a DAG are provided the more users are there. Okay, so another cool thing that we thought about is having a game engine with NFTs, because if you have like a way to prove ownership of some content, then we could have a shot at defining multimedia content piracy. So if you're a creator, you could have like your game or movie or experience, whatever, and you can have an NFT there, and the engine that is the transition function. So what shows stuff on a monitor or on a VR screen or whatever. So the output is verified through the engine that you actually own the NFT that is required to play that stuff. And also, this is a simplified overview on the self-sustainability of the project. And as you can see there, we got the founding members of the DAO that just kickstart everything. And then the DAO as an advanced crypto economic system that is, we got a paper on it, is like 80 pages. So we didn't want you to go through it, but it's cool. By the way, the DAO just sends money to the creators and builders, and they get to build the world that they imagine. So they are free to build whatever they want, and they build together. And then, hypothetically, meta-land speculators arrive, and they get even more resources to those creators and builders, and they keep on building. And we thought about achieving a world equilibrium where users and advertisers are able to sustain, this virtual world where the fees on the advertisers are able to pay for the computation of the users. So that way, you can have like a Google Stadia experience, but for free. This is a detailed overview on the sustainability of the project, and these are the economic cycles. Basically, what we have is that the faces of the polyhedron, they can be expanded in height, as we've seen before, and we got a mathematical function assigned to find out what the costs are, and we can have a measurement on the demand of the land upgrades, and use that as a bias enhancement in the spending plan of the DAO. So to give a basic explanation of this stuff, the community token has a supply of like 314 million tokens, and to upgrade the world to the maximum expansion, you need like 2 trillion tokens. So there are not enough tokens at the beginning, and that means that when you upgrade a land tile with a community token, you transfer it to the DAO, and then the DAO transfer it to builders and creators through posiverses that we talked about before. So that way, you're able to found creators with the demand for the virtual world, and that is cool. So this is the final overview. Basically, we're going to have here is the NFTs land auctions that are going to provide the funds for everything, and then we're going to have a governance token auction to actually make it decentralized. Because if you raise that amount of money, but you have the keys, we don't do that. Okay, so basically this stuff allows you to build building blocks based on the Goldberg governance, and then when you have building blocks, you build stuff. So you build a self-assembling, self-sovereign, and self-sustaining metaverse, but we don't use meta anymore. Okay, so now that infinite and effortless scalability, we can have any VR e-commerce application, any DAO stack, Solarity, any permissioned planetary token-based metaverse, and any permissionless planetary token-based metaverse with the same Goldberg structure. And this is a highly complicated scheme that shows how this stuff is Solarity, this stuff is the computation network, and this stuff over there and over here are just other people that could leverage on the computation network. And basically, you get like small fees on those stuff, and then it gets into the treasury, and the treasury is able to pay for the computation. And
so right now, we're just a small team of engineers. We have some in Berkeley, some in Milan. And we would love some help with the UI, UX development, since we are all engineers. We don't know much about design. And we would like some help with the governance and smart contracts room, since our end goal is to make creating DAOs and smart contracts programs really seems effortless, and that everybody can do it with basic UI and a basic website that we call Governance Smart Contract Room. And something that we want to focus on is the dApps deployment, since once we have the structure ready, it won't be that hard to have people upload their own stuff on top of it. And there are so many new projects, so many cool ideas coming on Solana, and we want to help them to have VR experiences or just browser gaming experiences. And if we can help them, we would love to help them. And if they can help us, we would love to receive help. And
we also would like to focus on research and development of meritocratic systems. And usually, if you want to do like some good work, you need a lot of people with different mindsets, but that are open to discuss and find common grounds to actually build something that it's really decentralized. So we also would like to work on commonly adopted standards, and usually the way these standards emerge is that people, they say this stuff could work, other people say yes, it could work, and then slowly they find commonly adopted standards. And we also would like to find new DAO members, so people that are interested in DAOs, to do something cool together. Yeah. Okay. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.